CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Live from London, this is The World Today.
Hello, I'm Robin Dwyer. Welcome to the programme. Our top stories. Russia's President Putin says talks with Turkey's President Erdogan were constructive and businesslike, but there's no revival of the Black Sea grain deal. Deepening ties. Italy's foreign minister is in Beijing for talks to strengthen links between the two countries. 2 dead and 3 missing as storms and torrential rain hit central Spain, causing major flooding. Vaping crackdown. France set to become the latest country to ban disposable vapes as part of national anti-smoking plans. And breaking the mould and taking a bow at the Asian Games. We look at China's breakdancers hoping to win gold in Hangzhou. Russia's President Putin says talks with his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan were constructive and businesslike. The two men met in the Russian resort of Sochi. The leaders have been giving a press conference which is still underway. President Erdogan had high hopes of being able to revive the Ukraine grain export deal that he brokered along with the United Nations last year, and which Russia pulled out of in July. But after the end of those talks, no agreement appears to have been made. Well, let's talk now to our correspondent, Dasha Chernyshova, who is in Moscow. So, Dasha, that press conference between President Erdogan and President Putin still underway. What's been said so far?
Well, indeed, the Russian president has confirmed and reiterated the Russian position on the Black Sea grain deal, saying that Moscow would be ready to resume the arrangement once the Russian concerns are addressed. And so far, Moscow insists there has been zero progress on that. We also have heard the Russian president accusing the West of fooling Russia when it comes to the implementation of the Russian part of this deal, saying that the West was never interested in taking into consideration the Russian concerns. And the Russian president has also said that Russia was ready and was ensuring the security in the corridor of the Black Sea grain deal, while Ukraine was using it to conduct and carry out the acts of terrorism. So these are the accusations from the Russian president. We haven't heard any word with regards to the possibility of Russia rejoining the arrangement anytime soon. So Russia has reiterated its position. But at the same time, the Turkish president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has been saying very clearly that the grain deal has played a pivotal role in averting the food crisis, in helping the countries in need. He was also saying that Ankara was ready to mediate into the negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv to achieve the peaceful solution. Moscow, on its part, has thanked Turkey for its balanced approach, as Russia has described it, in foreign policy.
Well, as you've been talking, Dasha, we've been looking at pictures of the two presidents shaking hands and leaving the podium, so presumably that press conference is now over. Are we at the point, though, now where the Black Sea grain deal is now finished? Are we at the end of the road?
Well, it's very difficult to see how this Black Sea grain deal could be revived, given Russia's position and given the position of the West. Again, from the Russian perspective, it is the West that is responsible for Russia deciding not to extend the Black Sea grain deal. And again, all hinges on the West from the Russian perspective, of course. And also, we understand that Moscow has made its proposal on the supplies of grain to Turkey for processing and sending to the countries in need. We haven't heard any breakthrough on this issue as well. So certainly, it's very hard to see how those issues could be resolved at the moment, but definitely we understand that the sides are working on that.
Dasha, thank you very much. Our correspondent Dasha Chernyshova in Moscow. Ukraine's president has sacked his defense minister, citing the need for new approaches in the conflict with Russia. While Alexei Reznikov has not been accused of any wrongdoing, his dismissal comes after a string of scandals over arms procurement deals. President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's being moved from his post after what he called more than 550 days of full-scale war. Reznikov's being replaced by the current chief of Ukraine's state property fund, Rustem Umerov. Ukraine's defence minister was credited with bringing in a lot of military aid, particularly from the United States, which has donated more arms than any other nation. According to the Pentagon, this includes almost 200 155mm howitzers and 2 million artillery rounds, over 300,000 rounds of small arms ammunition, as well as grenades, and also 100,000 sets of body armour and helmets. Field hospitals are vital to the Ukrainian army. Positioned near the front lines, they treat injured soldiers, including those who need emergency medical care. Then soldiers are transferred to hospitals. Our correspondent Yolo Abdavid and cameraman Phil Kalla had exclusive access to a field hospital in the Bakhmut area.
Initially it's calm, but there's artillery fire all around us. Thousands have died in Bakhmut, and the injured come to field hospitals like this one.
Стабілізаційний пункт – це, по суті, точка збору.
The stabilisation point is a primary point to provide medical care to soldiers after they've received first aid on the battlefield. It's the closest location to the battle, and there are specialist medics here, but we're not combat medics. We're specialist doctors. We're specialist doctors, surgeons, anesthesiologists, and traumatologists.
До місця ведення бойових дій. І тут у нас працюють лікарі, вже спеціалісти. Тобі ж це вже не бойові медики, це вже лікарі-спеціалісти. Тут є хірурги, анестезіологи, є травматологи.
Doctors work around the clock, up to 5 days at a time. They sleep when they can.
Я всіх приймаю близько. Це всі свої.
I feel sorry for everyone, and each injury is serious in its own way. Many people tell me I should not take it to heart, but I can't do that. I remember everyone. For example, recently a soldier was wounded. He had to have both his legs amputated. We talked to him, and afterwards I had a holiday, and I went to visit him.
Then a soldier is carried in. He has an open leg wound. The medical team springs into action as they get to work on the latest casualty. His wounds are bandaged and his treatment details are carefully documented. He's treated quickly so he can be transferred by medics to a fully equipped hospital. They try to keep the soldier comfortable, easier said than done on bumpy tracks. The ambulance is driven quickly to a ward away from the war zone. Every day there's stress, fatigue and a flood of emotions. Lives are saved because medics often do up to 5 such trips every day.
Найбільш частіші поранення – це кульові та уламкові.
The most common injuries are from bullets and shrapnel and gunshot fragmentation. At the start of the war we saw lots of shrapnel wounds, but now we see bullet wounds more often. They vary from light wounds, scratching the skin for example, to heavy wounds and amputations right on the battlefield after explosions and so on.
І до важких з ампутацією прямо на полі бою від вибуху і так далі. Тобто
Within 30 minutes of being treated at the stabilisation point, the soldier was on his way to hospital. The medics are back on duty. The work is ceaseless. Yolo Abdavid, CGTN, Eastern Ukraine.
China's foreign ministry says Premier Li Qiang will attend the G20 summit in the Indian capital, New Delhi, this weekend. Discussions among the world's 20 largest economies and developing nations will focus on sustainable development. But leaders will also discuss the conflict in Ukraine. US President Joe Biden says he's disappointed President Xi Jinping won't be attending, but says he hopes the two will meet soon. China says it hopes the summit in New Delhi will build consensus among the G20 countries to work together on global challenges.
At a time when the world economy is under increasing downward pressure and global sustainable development is facing more difficulties, the G20, as the main forum for international economic cooperation, should strengthen its partnership, work together to address prominent challenges in the international economy and development, and make positive contributions to promoting the recovery and growth of the world economy and global sustainable development.
Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani is in Beijing, where he's expected to hold talks with his Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi. The two will also attend the 11th joint meeting of the China-Italy Government Committee. One focus of the visit is Italy's participation in China's Belt and Road Initiative. Tajani's trip is seen as paving the way for a visit by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni later this year. From Rome, our correspondent Giles Gibson has more on the relationship between the two countries.
The talks in Beijing are expected to cover the entire scope of the Italy-China relationship, including strong trade ties between the two countries. However, the clock is ticking down for the Italian government to make a decision about whether it's going to renew a memorandum of understanding relating to the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. Now, that memorandum was signed back in 2019 under former Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte. The Foreign Minister, Antonio Tajani, himself has been publicly sceptical about it, saying in June that we have not had many benefits from it. In July, the country's defence minister also said that Italy intends to withdraw from the agreement, but that it will try to do so without damaging its relationship with Beijing.
What will likely happen is that the Italian government will push forward to not renew the BRI MOU, and it will try to carve out some degree of safety valves or parachutes and ways to also save face for Chinese counterparts and Italy as well.
On a trip to Rome in February, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said that Beijing is ready to deepen comprehensive strategic cooperation with Italy. However, the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has been keeping her cards close to her chest about the BRI all year, simply saying, "I do not foresee our relationship with China becoming more complicated." Now, the Meloni government has until the end of this year to make a decision that will shape Italy-China ties for years to come. Giles Gibson for CGTN, Rome.
You're watching CGTN. Still ahead. France is set to become the latest country to ban disposable vapes because of health and environmental concerns.
Ever wondered what's the difference between a bear and a bull market? Where are the cash cows? And who are the lame ducks? And what exactly are black swans? Grey rhinos? And unicorn companies? Make sense of it all with Global Business, only on CGTN.
There's a new agenda for a new world, accelerating change in almost every part of our lives. It's shifting the norms of how we work, travel, and connect. How we think, interact, and develop. It's a new reality, a new agenda with me, Juliette Mann.
Welcome back. A reminder of our headlines. Deepening ties. Italy's foreign minister is in Beijing for talks to strengthen links between the two countries. And Russia's President Putin says talks with Turkey's President Erdogan were constructive and businesslike, but there's no revival of the Black Sea grain deal. Two people have died after storms and torrential rain hit central Spain overnight, causing widespread flooding. 3 people are missing, including a man whose vehicle got caught in an avalanche when a river broke its banks. His 10-year-old son, who was travelling with him, was found by rescuers on Monday. Roads have been closed, bridges have collapsed and subway lines have been suspended in the capital, Madrid. The extreme weather comes after a blistering hot summer which saw scores of wildfires break out. Well, our correspondent Ken Brown is in Madrid. So, Ken, Spain wasn't really expecting this kind of weather, was it?
Yes, well, Robin, record rainfall, red weather alerts and alarms to our phones, unprecedented. We've never seen them before. Right now, I'm in the town of El Alamo, about 40 minutes from the Madrid centre. If you're hearing some noise behind me, it's because we have a crane here right beside me trying to restore the electricity. There's a car hanging from a bridge. You can see some of the scale of the destruction behind me. As you mentioned, there have been some tragedies, 2 lives lost, 3 people missing. One family was almost swept away by the River Alberche, which is quite close to here. The father, unfortunately, remained in the car. He's still missing. The son, Ethan, is only 10 years old. He managed to climb a tree, was later rescued. The mother and the sister are also safe. We've seen dramatic images of rescues from cars, from buildings, some people on their roofs being rescued by helicopter. In parts of Spain, we've seen up to 218 litres of water per metre fall in 24 hours. Transport chaos, roads closed, and we saw many cancellations and delays yesterday in Madrid, Santander and Mallorca airports, Robin.
So is this the end of the bad weather, or is there more to come?
Well, as you can see right now, the sun has come out here. Luckily, that weather system, it's called Dana. They're calling it that here in Spain. It's moving northwest, passing over Galicia and leaving Spain. So right now, I'm watching people right behind the camera, taking stock, trying to salvage what they can from their homes, digging mud from their houses, from the street, which is completely closed. This was pretty dramatic, and these freak rains couldn't have come at a worse time, really, when everybody is coming back from holiday. The schools are open again on Wednesday. Tomorrow, hopefully, there'll be a reprieve and the weather won't be so bad. The president of the Community of Madrid, the wider Madrid region, her name is Isabel Ayuso. She talked about declaring a disaster zone in this region, the southeast of Madrid. We've heard calls for European funding. The bill is set to be in tens of millions of dollars in infrastructure, in insurance bills, and the time is here now for people to take stock, to save what they can, and to, in some cases, to mourn loved ones.
Ken, thank you very much. Our correspondent Ken Brown in Madrid. France has announced plans to ban disposable vapes as part of a national effort to combat smoking and reduce waste. Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne says disposable vapes target young people and are considered a gateway to smoking, which causes at least 75,000 deaths in France each year. They're also an environmental hazard, as they're designed to be thrown away when empty. Several European countries are considering a similar ban. Well, the history of the e-cigarette can be traced back 20 years to an invention by Chinese pharmacist Hon Lik, who wanted to quit smoking. Since then, the market has grown rapidly. It's estimated that 82 million people worldwide vape, with sales of e-cigarettes and associated products worldwide rising to $25 billion. Recent advances in technology have allowed the development of cheap disposable devices, with 138 million of these being sold annually in the UK. They contain enough of the highly sought-after metal lithium to build batteries for 1,200 electric vehicles. Anti-smoking campaigners say manufacturers are targeting young people by selling sweet flavours. According to advocacy group ASH, 1 in 5 under-18s in the UK has tried vaping. Well, here in the UK, there are calls from local authorities for similar action to be taken on vapes, like the one that France is considering. Our correspondent Michael Voss reports.
This London tobacco shop has been selling smoking products for more than 40 years. There are Cuban cigars and pipes on display. But under UK law, cigarettes must be hidden inside a cupboard, and all packets carry very graphic health warnings, but not for vapes.
There are 2 whole shelves of vapes here with more than 100 different flavours, everything from triple mango, grape, watermelon ice. The vaping market has exploded in recent years.
Today, the sale of mainly disposable vapes in this shop outnumbers cigarettes.
So why are you vaping?
Well, I need to stop smoking. I was smoking about 40 cigarettes a day, believe it or not. So, yes, I'm still smoking, but a little bit of vaping. But this is it. This is the future. It's the future.
Earlier this year, the British government launched a Swap to Stop scheme, offering vaping starter kits to heavy smokers to encourage them to quit cigarettes.
What we do know at the moment is that in terms of comparative risk, vaping is still less harmful than smoking. The long-term impacts of vaping we need to figure out.
Vaping in the UK is big business, with around 4.5 million people using vapes, generating around $1.5 billion a year. But with this myriad of fancy-sounding, fruity flavours, critics accuse the vaping industry of targeting children, some of whom have never smoked cigarettes. A recent study found that a fifth of all 11 to 17-year-olds in the UK have tried vaping, with numbers increasing significantly year on year.
If I were making the rules, I would say that you should just have nicotine, and that is it, no other flavoring for vaping. And then vaping then is seen as something to help you get off tobacco cigarettes and to wean the dose down and eventually stop vaping.
There's also pressure on legislators here to ban the sale of single-use disposable vapes, which critics say are far too readily available in grocery and mobile repair shops across the country. With 140 million disposable vapes sold in the UK each year, they're rapidly becoming a litter problem, and with their tiny lithium batteries are difficult to recycle. For a product designed to ease people off cigarettes, vaping is now creating problems of its own. Michael Voss, CGTN, London.
As French pupils go back to school, some will have to change their wardrobe or face disciplinary action. The government has banned children in state schools from wearing the abaya, the full-length robe worn by some Muslim women. Our correspondent Stuart Smith reports.
This baggy dress, favoured by some Muslim women, has for years been part of a debate about religion and what is okay to wear in France's public institutions, which include schools. To France's education minister, it's more than just a garment. It's a message, one which he says should have no place in schools, just like religious symbols.
There has been a considerable increase in attacks on secularism, particularly with the wearing of religious dress such as abayas.
Supporters of that thinking say pupils and teachers should be free of religious pressure.
La laïcité française, ce n'est pas la lutte contre les religions.
French secularism is not a fight against religions. It's to offer the pupils of France the possibility of freeing themselves from the constraints of their family environment and to have this breathing space where they can build an individual way of thinking about the world and have the opportunity to express their free will.
Leur manière individuelle de penser le monde, leur libre arbitre.
Some teachers say religious dress can cause problems in schools.
Vous avez 7-8 jeunes filles en classe qui portent l'abaya.
The presence of several young girls in the same class wearing these has led some teachers to censor themselves, to no longer deal with certain chapters or topics.
France has a long legal and cultural history of trying to separate religion from public life, including in public education. After the high-profile beheading of a teacher by a Muslim student in 2020 who said he felt his faith was disparaged, the best way to implement that separation always prompts heated debate. Part of that discussion is about what constitutes a religious symbol and whether the abaya is really linked with Islam at all.
Les musulmans, comme les musulmans d'ailleurs,
Muslims, men and women alike, have to adapt without giving up who they are. It's not what you wear that makes you a Muslim, it's how you behave that counts. Fairness, kindness, forgiveness, not lying, respect. These are also Christian values. They're universal values. So Muslim practice isn't just about putting on clothes.
While Imam Oubrou doesn't see any religious problem with banning the abaya, he questions whether the garment should be the Education Ministry's focus.
There are other things to worry about because schools are faced with much more serious problems such as digital harassment, bullying, the lack of teachers and the curriculum. We need to prioritise the school's problems, but it's not clothes that are the school's main concern.
Il faut hiérarchiser les problèmes de l'école.
The government says head teachers can now be confident they have the legal backing to take disciplinary action, if required, to meet their obligations under the law. But with some calling the abaya ban unconstitutional and threatening legal action, it may not have the final word. Stuart Smith, CGTN, Paris.
The leader of a coup in Gabon has been given a standing ovation as he was sworn in as the country's interim president. General Brice Nguema seized power last week, ousting President Ali Bongo after an election which gave him a third term in office. The military annulled the result, saying it wasn't credible. Prosecutors in Malaysia have dropped corruption charges against the Deputy Prime Minister. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi was facing 47 charges of criminal breach of trust, bribery and money laundering. The opposition says the case was dropped after Zahid gave his political support to the Prime Minister. Zahid claimed the charges were politically motivated. It's raised questions about the government's commitment to tackling corruption. Kenya's President William Ruto has launched Africa's first climate summit in the capital, Nairobi. More than 20 presidents and heads of state and thousands of delegates will attend the three-day summit. Organisers are expecting hundreds of millions of dollars in deals to be announced during the event, which aims to showcase the continent as a destination for climate investment. More than 70,000 people are stranded at a festival in the US state of Nevada. A rainstorm that hit the area last week is thought to have been the longest, heaviest rainfall since the Burning Man festival began more than 30 years ago. A man died at the event on Friday, but it was unrelated to the bad weather. Organisers have postponed the event's traditional finale, the burning of an effigy, until Monday evening. This year's Asian Games will take place in China, a year after being postponed due to the COVID pandemic. China's Deputy Sports Minister says 45 Olympic committees from Asian countries and regions are expected in the eastern city of Hangzhou, making it the biggest Games in its history. The event is due to run from September the 23rd until the first week of October. The sport of breakdancing will be making its debut as a medal-winning event at the Asian Games, ahead of an appearance at the 2024 Paris Olympics. Often referred to as breaking, it's a dance form popular in China. CGTN's Wang Mengjie reports on the country's medal hopes in Hangzhou.
When you dance, you need to dance with soul. Words of wisdom from Han Yu, one of China's top street dancers. But come on, locking, how hard can it be? Well, I'm just kidding. It took a while, but I started to follow the move, finally. Locking's like pulling teeth for me, but Han says there is another more difficult dance style.
You need to pay dearly to learn and practice breakdancing. From the muscles in your body to muscular power and hand power, I think it's the type of dance that requires you to put in the most effort in terms of the moves. When compared to other modern dance genres like hip-hop or locking, it's also the type that can touch the heart the most.
Breakdancing will feature as a competition event at the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics. The competition format will differ slightly in Hangzhou.
We've updated the grading standards from 6 areas to 5, namely technique, vocabulary, originality, execution, and musicality, to better score athletes and save their time and energy. They need to meet the 5 requirements within 60 seconds, not an easy task.
Chinese breakers trained only for a short time when the dance style made its Olympic debut at the Youth Games in Buenos Aires in 2018. China's first national team was established only this year. Its members are currently training in France and will return to Hangzhou for the Asian Games.
I'm confident about the Chinese breaking team. Some of them have achieved good rankings in international competitions, such as female breaker Liu Qingyi. The progress made by male athlete Shang Xiaoyu is also significant. It's no problem for them to grab the gold medal at Hangzhou Asian Games.
It's exciting to see these young athletes compete for medals. They are not only battling for their passion, they're seizing the opportunity to shine on behalf of their country. Wang Mengjie, CGTN, Beijing.
And that is The World Today. Thanks for watching. We're back with more news at the top of the hour. Coming up next, it's World Insight. For now, from all of the team in London, it's goodbye.